considering certain circumstances right now, considering Kenshin's author and just like some certain things he's been accused of, I really need to like put out a disclaimer here. Is that like I must be incredibly good at separating the art from the artist because I had no problems at all watching Kenshin and getting into it. Like even though I knew nothing about it until like I watched the show, like I got into it really quickly. Like I liked this show. Now I don't think it's like my favorite thing ever. Like I don't think I'm quite as hyped for it as I am for like other shows I've liked recently, like My Hero Academia or maybe even Berserk to an extent. Like I have issues with Kenshin. Like they're minor issues though. Like I don't think it's like the best thing ever or anything. Like I feel like a lot of these minor characters don't really have a reason to exist right now. Like I don't know why like the fuck Yahiko or what's his name like Zanza. Like Zanza is his like nickname, but like he has another name now. Like his real name. You can call me Sasuke. Like is that it? Like I cannot keep track of these fucking names. Like these characters just sort of exist at this moment. Like I'm not really sure what they're doing there. Like they mostly just exist to be like Yamchas and make Kenshin look good in comparison. But that's kind of what I like about it to an extent. Is that like Kenshin is quite different from other protagonists of anime from this group. Like he's not like this guy. This is the thing I noticed from the very beginning is that he's very different from the sort of protagonist who wants to be like the very best, like no one ever was. Like Kenshin got there years ago, like a decade ago, and he's not really interested in like maintaining that position. Like it's so interesting. Like it's one of those subversive things that I find kind of interesting. Like this is his like defining character thing. I think like this is not like a Luke Skywalker situation, right? This is like a Yoda situation. Like this is something like I really thought of like when I was watching this. Is that like Kenshin is like very Yoda-ish in the way he like approaches things, and even in the way he speaks. In some ways, like he has this desire to like help people and like do these things and like put people on the right path and help them out and stuff like that. But he's not really interested in being like a warrior anymore. Like that's something that like he's having personal conflicts with. Like it's kind of interesting where like he has this where he's extremely good at fucking killing people, but he just like chooses not to for a moral reason. Like it reminds me of like Yakuza, right? Kazuma Kiryu, like one of my favorite video game protagonists ever. Okay, and how like he approaches things and how he handles situations and stuff like that. Like Kenshin is sort of like that. Maybe not quite as well handled. Like I think again, Kiryu is like one of my favorite people in fiction ever. I think like, amazing fucking character. Kenshin kind of falls short in the way that I think he's kind of one note and one dimensional and just that. Well, maybe not one dimensional. Like maybe not quite as like well rounded as Kiryu is a way I should is a better way to explain it because Kenshin does have like character depth. Like you do get the impression that like he has these struggles and he goes through these issues and like he wants to work past them and like become who he wants to be like, but not like a warrior or anything like that. Like again, it's an interesting fact about this. Like it takes place in like the Meiji era, right, where samurai are on the way out. Like they're just fire. Like Japan is entering the modern era, right? They're introducing guns. They're introducing weapons. Like democracy. They're talking about democracy and like Japan entering the modern world. Basically, they are past like the isolation age, and they are entering the modern world, right? I believe like the feudal lords are like no longer a thing, and like uh, they're doing more stuff to, like modernize and stuff like that. Like they're becoming governors and stuff like that. Like Japan is changing pretty much, and Kenshin is sort of a byproduct of like the end of the previous age. Fuck, what was it? I don't think they said the previous age, right? The samurai age, where he was going around like killing all these people, like the manslayer, right? He was this like great soldier, like the best there ever was. And then like he doesn't want to be that anymore. Like he's just going around like helping people and wandering the world and the country, I guess, not the world. And then like eventually he falls in with this dojo who's like teaching really this conflicting person this ideology about like using swords to help people, to defend people, like that sort of thing, like that typical anime bullshit. And Kenshin is just like, that's bullshit, but I want to believe it. And he's just like immediately starts like living there with them and like starts helping them out in like their day-to-day lives, and like they get involved with like all these adventures. They start like meeting new people. Just they get a new apprentice like Yahiko, and just like meet this guy Zanza, who was like who opposed the imperialists back in like the day. Like I don't really know where this is going to go at this point. Like the first arc, if you could call it that, it was pretty short. Like involved like the drug trade. Now we're like in the filler age, the filler arcs, the terrible filler episodes. Well, okay, so the drug episodes, like when the story was being like not fillerish, it was interesting. Like they tackled all these interesting subjects, like the drug trade and how that was affecting Japan at the time, and how they're going to stop it, and just all this stuff that was an issue back then. Just like interesting stuff. Like I imagine it's romanticized to some degree. Like I'm not familiar with like Japan in this period at all. Like I was not like I'm not like super aware of like everything that was around there during that time, but yeah, it seems like that romanticized bullshit, sort of, but like it's enjoyable. I like it. Like it's based on reality to some degree, as I understand it, and I just, I enjoy it. Like I find it enjoyable enough, like the characters they meet, like the people they fight, like it's interesting. Like I just feel like this show has a lot of unique. I find myself really engaged with like everything that happens in the show so far. Like I don't feel like they've really introduced like a long-standing overarching plot or anything. Like it's mostly about like Kenshin going around like doing stuff and like how he interacts with other people and stuff like that. And that's interesting, but I'm really interested in seeing what happens from here. Like again, maybe I shouldn't have been um, sort of made a video about it until like I got to the end, but I kind of wanted to give my first impressions of like the first general arc and the first couple of filler episodes. The filler episodes, maybe it's because like I grew up watching fucking Naruto of all things, which is infamous, like nowadays infamous for having like an insane amount of terrible filler. But like watching filler like of older anime like Dragon Ball and this, like I do not mind it that much. Like I find that like it lets a lot of these characters that did not really get to do a lot in like the main arc or like the main overarching plot, like get to do stuff. Like Yahiko, but was that a filler arc where Yahiko? I don't even fucking know. Where he like defends this girl he likes. Like I don't know. I thought it was a filler arc. Maybe it wasn't. Like they meet this guy, this wrestler named Tamaru. This could have been like generic fillerish bullshit, and maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Like I was not quite sure whether or not it was a filler. Like I got the impression it was fillerish, but I don't know. Like it felt like the characters were well rounded. Like you got to see the characters do interesting stuff. You got that they wouldn't. You got to see them like interact with these new characters. It was just like I thought they were like actually pretty well handled and interesting. I just like there were things that like I had issues with them. I just like again the fact that they were filler, and I was just like, is this going to come again like at all? But like. I felt like it was more enjoyable than most fillers I've seen like lately. Okay, like what was the last filler? I don't think a lot of anime I've seen lately has had a lot of filler. I haven't been watching a lot of longer anime lately. Like last anime that had filler I watched was probably like Dragon Ball. Like that had iffy-ish filler at times, but it wasn't like unreasonable or anything. One Piece can have terrible filler. Just I don't know, man. Like maybe I'll at the moment, man. I don't think Kenshin is like my favorite anime or anything like that, but I certainly enjoy it a lot. I'm certainly like digging it so far. I'm like I've been watching it a lot for the past couple of days. Like I started like what a couple of days ago, and now I'm on like episode 15. I've been watching this a lot, so I'll probably get through it reasonably quickly, and I'll probably be able to like give you my final thoughts like relatively soon. Like, is it going to get better? Is it going to get more interesting, or is like are they going to introduce more concepts or more ideas? I just like I don't know, man, because like I wonder if this thing is going to have this issue where like its gimmick, its shit kind of loses its luster eventually. I think that could happen. I don't think so though, going by like what's going on, because this drug trade arc was like really interesting. Like it had a lot of interesting characters. It had like interesting enemies. It had an interesting like sort of finality to it. Like with the enemies in general are kind of it was kind of interesting. Like I was kind of emotional when it came to this like to like why the what the fuck are they called, the gang, the warriors, like the guys who were helping the drug traders, like those guys, why they were like these insanely good fighters, like why they were helping them, like um, they make it really clear, like it's really powerful that these guys cannot do anything else. Like they spent their entire lives like learning how to fight and like to be stronger. And now that like, the war is over, and now that there's no real purpose for it, like they can't really do anything else. Like they can't really find other work. They can't really go back to being normal people. And it's just like, whoa, that's really powerful, man. Like amazing. Like I was just like blown away by that. Like really good, like a really good moral there. Like really good, like sort of reason for being there, for going up against Kenshin and like that sort of thing. Like amazing. Like sometimes this is something I've realized, like, in my pursuit of my goals and stuff like that, is that like committing yourself completely to being the very best, it's eventually going to be like you're eventually going to reach the point where like you don't really have anything else in your life. Like you're going to reach this point where like you're obsessed over like maintaining that, like maintaining what you have, and like being the best you can be in like this one thing. And then like eventually you're going to like miss out on like all this other stuff that you also are interested in, or are also like fascinated by. This goes back to like the Mob Psycho thing, and why I loved that show so much is that Mob had this like incredible gift, this incredible talent, but that did not stop him from like going after other pursuits. It did not stop him from like learning new things, or learning new meeting new people, or like going up, or eventually facing his own inability to like use his own unwillingness to use his like. Well, he doesn't really do that. Like there's a reason that character is the way he is. Like this kind of thing is the kind of thing I'm fascinated by. I would say is that like sometimes being the very best at something is not really what you should be aiming for. Like you should be doing it for like genuine self-improvement. You should be doing it just for like the enjoyment, the thrill of like learning something new. Like not everything. If the only reason you ever learn something is to be the very best at it, you're going to be very disappointed, because you are not going to be the very best at everything you do. In fact, I would say most people will never be the very best at anything they do. And that should be a really depressing thing, like a really depressing reality, but it's not. Like it's perfectly acceptable to not be the best or even relatively good at anything. Like as long as you're enjoying yourself, as long as you're like trying, as long as you're like really pushing yourself, like try something new and like living life to the fullest, like you're living a good life. Like you don't need to be the very best. And in fact, trying to be the very best is in itself like going to be this thing where eventually it's going to lead you down a bad road. Like you're going to like start looking at steroids, and like start looking at like start believing you need to cheat like to get ahead, or like you're going to need to like start undermining the competition. Like you need to do all this stuff to maintain this illusion that what you have, like being the very best, is like something important, something you need to have, when that's not really true at all. Like again, there's more to life than just having like a lot of money or a lot of skill, or like having more of what other people have. Like you just have to. There is goodness in this world, and just understanding that is really important. Like understanding how to be part of that is the true secret to being happy. Like it's not about like winning Pokemon tournaments or winning Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments or winning every single fight you get in. It's about like standing up for what you believe in and like being a good person and being like putting yourself out there really, like living your life. Like you don't have to succeed all the time and you'll fail quite a lot, but failing is fun too. Like if you did not fail all the time, success would not be worth it.